All right, there, Seattle Storm fans. We've had a few practices and one preseason game. So, what is your team looking like? We'll talk about that on today's episode of Tempestage Talk.
You have three people who are selfless like that, three people who are dangerously disciplined like that, and you have a coach that also embodies all of those characteristics. You can expect good basketball.
I love interacting with the fans. I'm excited for them to cheer for us because it's hell when you come here. I even welcome people that could be skeptical because it's new.
There's going to be a standard of excellence and discipline in everything that we do.
The Pacific Northwest, this area, how passionate they are. It's culture everywhere, but it's great culture here. That's what I want to be a part of, to compete for a championship. That's everybody's goal. And I think it's just how we go about things and habits that we create. I want to be around winners that'll help us get closer to that.
And that's what the fans can expect. And we're going to have some fun.
It is another season for the Seattle Storm. We've got some familiar faces. We've got some new faces, including one very brand spanking new face that just touched down in Seattle that we will talk about. But Erica L. Ayala here alongside Roberta Rodriguez, and you are watching Tempestage Talk. We are keeping a local eye, well, in Roberta's case, on the Storm. All right. I mean, you have been able to go to media day, a few practices. What is your initial thoughts and takeaways from this Seattle Storm team?
You know, I have two takeaways. One is that the team knows the identity that they want to have this season. They know exactly what they need. The second takeaway is that they have so much to decide. They have to figure out what is the best decision with the roster that they have now. They already made two cuts. I know we're gonna get there, but they have a lot to figure out still to make sure that what they want is what they're going to implement. So that's where that's my impression of where the storm is at.
I mean, and we kind of talked about that on the last episode. It was really just a back and forth of trying to figure out when you don't really have a true shooting guard, is there
Mhm.
enough shooting on the Seattle Storm team? And one of the players that we were talking about, of course, was Katie Lou Samuelson. We'll get to that in just a moment, but we've got some folks we want to say hi to. Daniel, yoo, what's going on? Moni, hey y'all, what's going
Hi,
on?
Money.
We know we have a question that you sent over in the Slack channel, so we are definitely going to get to that. Donovan saying position 3 through 5 is dangerous for Seattle, and that's going to be their bread and butter. Absolutely. Yes, Donovan,
Mhm,
we talked
mhm.
about that. And again, it's the two guard position that may be a little funny, a little finicky. And so when you don't maybe have a standout right now, as a two guard, Katie Lou Samuelson was someone that we talked about, but unfortunately, we got some news regarding Katie Lou
Man.
Samuelson. We wrote about it. Brian Florentin from Gotta Get Up. He also curates our newsletter, the Women's Basketball Roundup. He talks about that. Georgia Amore, but an ACL injury for Samuelson.
Another one in the league, the third one for the Seattle Storm. I know that ACLs happen in sports, but there does seem to be a little like more instances of that happening in the WNBA lately. I'm not sure if it's Harvard that is starting that research on how menstrual periods can affect uh, can affect ACL in female athletes. I'm happy that this is something that's being studied. I have a friend, actually one of the Beta Basket writers. She She has a major in conditioning, and her capstone was on ACL injuries in
Mhm.
female athletes. So I'm happy to. I'm trying to bug them to translate that to English and let us uh, feed off their knowledge. But I'm glad that that research is going on. So yeah, Katie Lou got injured, so now the Storm has Katie Lou, Jordan Horston, and Nika Mule with ACLs. And there seems to be some because Nika and Jordan could have their contract suspended. It seems like because Katie Lou got injured during training camp, there seems like there is a clause that doesn't allow the storm to suspend her contract. So they
Yeah,
have to count those 90K towards the cap sheet.
yeah, really interesting. I was not familiar with that, but I think overall what this is speaking to, and we talk about it a lot in our Slack channel. And I just recently spoke to Terry Jackson, and on our Slack channel, I gave y'all the raw audio on that, and we'll have a write up on Black Rosie Media soon. But there is no long-term injured reserve for the WNBA. And so as we're seeing these injuries and particularly thinking about the history of the Seattle Storm, I went on a rant. I think we were actually, I don't know if we were on Tempestage talk or Gotta Get Up, but I rant about Stu being an
Yeah,
a lot.
gotta get up. It was me, you, and Brian.
And Brian, okay, that's why I couldn't. I was like, I don't know which podcast I was on, but you also mentioned that research, and I mentioned it on our Monday episode of Got to Get Up because yes, it was actually the U.S. soccer team with Dawn Scott that utilized not only the general research, but also they were using biometric data on the athletes on that team to make sure that they were giving them a regimen that was um, mindful of what phase of their menstrual cycle they were in. So it's really fascinating stuff. Anyway, back to um, the long term injured reserve. Now, that would be something where, maybe you do, especially a Katie Lou Samuelson, but even Horston and Mule, where you are able to take the players off of the salary cap, but they are still on the roster or they're still getting paid because they're on injured reserve. There's no such thing for long term injured reserve when it comes to the WNBA, but we do know there is a collective bargaining agreement that is being negotiated. So, will that be something that we see in the near future? It looks like we're beyond the time that the league needs it, Roberta.
Absolutely. And when we hear from we've been hearing a lot from Terry Jackson on what the WNBPA wants from the league. There has been a lot of conversation regarding the hard salary cap.
Yeah.
There's no flexibility. Whereas in the WNBA, there's no flexibility. In the NBA, there is a flexibility. Teams can pay a fine if
Yep.
they surpass the salary cap. That's something that the WNBA doesn't have. So with Katie Lou Samuelson injured, I think it's 95K something from the salary sheet that the Storm is just not gonna have. That
Yeah, so I'm pulling up on the screen now for everyone. This is our good friends at her hoop stats, and as you said, it's 90 and she has an unprotected contract, but again, because the injury came from what we understand, and I need to do a little more research on this, but because the injury came while she was in camp, the Storm have to keep that on the salary cap, but you do see full suspension here for Horston and Mule, who got injured in the off season.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah, that's what happened. Uh, Katie Lou was already under contract with the Storm. It looks like there was a decision that was made before she started training camp and she got injured with them. I have been trying to get some information from the Storm PR on what are the next steps with Katie Lou, on if she's going to be she get treatment from with the Seattle Storm, because Jordan Horston and Nika Mule are having their treatment like with the Seattle Storm. They are being treated in the practice facility. They are receiving treatment from the professionals that the Storm has there. So I'm trying to get that information, but it hasn't been released yet. But I do
No,
think that the Storm
it
is going to
stands
take
to
really good care
reason.
of them.
It stands to reason. It's very rare that an athlete will do training outside. I mean, there are instances, the NHL actually, there's been a few instances of that. Sometimes you also have athletes that will get a second opinion from the team doctor. And Moni, oops, excuse me. I don't think either one of us said that Katie Lou is on a training camp
I think I
contract.
did. I think I
Oh,
did. I
oh,
think I did. Yeah.
no, she's not, but she's not. Okay, my bad. I misheard you, but no, she's not on a training camp contract. Um, yeah, so
It's Erica Wheeler who's in a training camp contract.
yeah. So yeah, it's just gonna be interesting to see how the team moves forward because again, we were already talking about this team. Uh, do they have enough offense or even really do they have more offense than last year? And there were some questions regarding Katie Lou Samuelson and now she's not available. So yeah, that's kind of wild. But yeah,
Yeah.
so you mentioned Erica Wheeler training camp contract, Zaya Cook, then they could cut them without any repercussions to the salary cap. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, we're definitely talking about this from the Storm perspective, and, like, it's hard also to see players like Horston and Mule not have their contract. Now, their situation a little bit different, they did not get injured while in service to the WNBA
Hmm.
and the Seattle Storm,
Yeah.
um, so I just wanna make it clear that I don't think either one of us is advocating to not pay Katie Lou Samuelson.
Oh
Just
my God, no.
generally speaking, I think what we're saying is it's a tough position for the Seattle Storm
Yeah.
to be in, given the confines
Yeah.
of the existing
Yeah.
collective bargaining agreement.
The issue here is the CBA and the lack of flexibility that it gives for
Yes,
teams to replace injured players.
exactly.
That's where the issue is. It's not that Katie Lou got injured.
No,
So
absolutely not.
uh,
I just wanted to make that clear because
yeah,
I'm
that's
impressed.
a good call. That's a really good
Yeah.
call. No, and that's something that was one of the main topics that the WNBPA brought up. I think I heard Terry Jackson talking about it during a podcast
Yeah.
about how that handicaps
Yeah.
teams. So, and I'm sure that players, feel like they're in a weird spot where they can't play, but it's also their right to be paid.
Yeah.
So, the new the among the things that the WNBPA is looking to achieve during these negotiations is trying to have a more like a softer seller cap.
Yeah, exactly. Donovan saying Seattle's gonna have like 10 players, it seems. I mean, it's gonna be tight. If we look at what they have here, total players right now, they have about 315K, 4 to 5 open roster slots. Um, you know, but they also have to think about how much money
Yeah.
they have that's already tied up and who
Hmm.
what is the balance, right? Because you do have an Erica Wheeler,
Yeah.
you have you're gonna take Malunga, right? I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
You can let her go.
Absolutely not. And so we just wanted to lead with that. But I do think that, we also saw the Seattle Storm in action against
Mhm.
Connecticut. Now, I think sometimes you not necessarily looking at the end result, the final score. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
we were having a live watch along while the New York Liberty in preseason lost by like 40 points.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah. So, you can't judge a whole season by a preseason
Yeah.
because need I remind you, the New York Liberty are your champions. But um I think that for me, it was great to see Lee Yuru in action. I
That
thought
was
Lee
amazing.
picked up and looked very comfortable within on the floor and in the systems, was communicative on the court. And so I wasn't really sure what to expect. I don't know Lee's game, I'll be honest. But I liked what I saw there. I also liked what I saw from Serena Sundal. So that's someone that I got to speak to at the draft for CBS Sports. And I think that there were some decision making things at times where I was like, but again, first action in the WNBA, but I thought was moving up and down the court really well. And worked out pretty well. Those are just two players for me that stood out comparative to, not like anyone, I don't think anyone played
Hmm.
bad or anything, but just not knowing their games and seeing it translated for Seattle in the first preseason game. That's what stood out to me. But Roberta, what stood out to you in that first game against the Connecticut Sun?
It was really good to see that. I think Donovan mentioned in our comments that the 3 to 5 is going to be the bread and butter of the team. And we were already able to see how good Skylar Diggins can play with Lee Yuru. That was a really good display of what we're going to see from the Seattle Storm and from that front court, back court connection. They're going to utilize that a lot. They're going to make sure that the bigs are getting the ball, and that is going to work as an advantage for the Storm. We even being fair with the fact that that the Connecticut Sun is not in the best shape that they have been in a long time. The Storm did really good over a team that has, Marina Mabry and other really good players. So it was a good. It was the Storm played beautiful. That's what I thought. I
Mhm.
thought that they had a lot of synergy. I thought that the team was very well rounded. There was communication. Everyone was doing what they were supposed to do. You saw the players really understood their roles. I think that Lee Yuru really took advantage of the opportunity that was given to her, and she's really relying on Skylar and Skylar, the point guard, to make sure that she puts herself in spots where Skylar can find her. So
Mhm.
I think that worked really well. Of course, you see that the starters played less than 20 minutes, no more than 21 minutes. Alicia Clark was the one that played more minutes of the starters. Nekagumake 18 points. But that double double by Lee Euro, that got me very excited for really good basketball in Seattle. I feel like I'm going to be spoiled with really good basketball. Um,
Points,
one,
10 rebounds,
yeah,
stats out there. Like, as you mentioned, Neka Ogumake led the team with 18 points overall. You got, you know, um, everyone that's still in training camp, I should say, definitely got on the score sheet. Serena Sundell only had the 1 point, but I thought that her decision making again at
yeah.
times, being able to push the pace, spreading out the floor, things of that nature.
Yeah, no, everyone did. The rookies really tried, really showed they what they were here for. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, there are cuts being made, there are decisions should be made, uh, and it's going to be some hearts are going to be broken in the next days with the decisions that the Storm has to make. One thing that really caught my eye, Alicia Clark.
Mhm.
We already saw what she told us on um, media day, that the Storm wants her to have more of an offensive, to be more active in the offensive end, that they want her to have more of an active offensive power. She had 8 field goals attempts.
Mhm.
That's already, so I went on across the timeline. Uh, in the 2023 and 2024 season, she had 11 games with 8 field goal attempts or more.
Mm.
In the last season alone, let me open here the note. Last season, she had 4 games with 8 field goals attempted or more. So we are already seeing that that intention in action of her having more of like independence in creating her own shots, on taking shots. So I think this is something with her starting that day, it was a glimpse on what is in Noelle Queen's mind of
Yeah.
how she envisions filling that shooting guard gap.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, AC was interviewed on the broadcast. I know Moni and I were watching together. Sounds like we got some new voices. Actually, some of that was announced. We can get to that a little bit later. And we knew there was going to be a new in arena host this year, either way. But some other changes it looks like were made. But yeah, I liked what we saw from AC. I love that the Seattle Storm is going to be tasking her with, more of an offensive presence. We saw that a little bit in Vegas, especially in that run to a championship in 23. So yeah, makes total sense. I want to get to Donovan's comment here. Mackenzie Holmes, 9 points, 8 boards, 3 blocks, can help playing small ball, especially defense at the perimeter. Absolutely. I think led, right? Or was up there when it came to players coming off of the bench. Yeah. You had yeah, had the most points off of the bench as the
Mm-hmm.
reserve players. So definitely a player that we're excited to see a little bit more of,
Yeah.
and a player that we have to see if where the Seattle Storm is going to be at the beginning of the season. Is she above
Mhm.
the line or below the line when it comes to final cuts? And we do have a
Yeah.
question that we received from some of our loyal listeners who are also in our Slack community. So that is definitely coming up. But another thing that was super exciting, if you were watching this game, whether you watched on League Pass Live or were able to do a little rewatch, but we had the French Connection in the stands, Gabby Williams, and most importantly, Dominique Malonga landed in
Yes.
Seattle, Roberta.
Yes, and she dunked on her first practice.
Well, let's
She
go
dunked.
before we get to practice. Let's just talk about like she got to Seattle, comes to a game right away, like within
Yeah, goes for a game right away. She got in Seattle because we got to Seattle the same day. So that was Saturday. She got there at Saturday. And I know someone, you know, fan culture is something can be really amazing, can be really scary. And I feel like this situation is one of those that they blend. Someone someone was tracking Dominique Malonga's flight on Twitter.
Wow.
and they posted a
How did they know
screenshot.
the flight number? I
I
mean, it's
mean,
really
it's
strange.
a flight from, I mean, you Google, like, where is it coming from? France, landing in, they knew she was going to get here on Saturday, SeaTac. It's easier than you think. I
Right.
love browsing flight radar because I'm afraid of flying, and monitoring flights actually helps a lot with my fear of flying.
Okay.
So yeah, so someone posted her screenshot of the flight tracker, flight radar, saying like, Dominic has landed. Dominic's in Seattle, and her flight ended up landing 20 minutes before my flight was supposed to land, but it got so delayed. I was supposed to land at 6:20
Anyways, so she got here Saturday, and there was a game the next day. Less than 12 hours. She was already, you know, there for a game. So that's quiet transition, and we do know that she has a lot of other internal commitments with the Storm, as in media day that um, she didn't have she didn't have her photos taken yet for media days and in arena signs and stuff. So she's gonna have some pretty busy days. We see that Gabby Williams is right next to her. Like I feel like Gabby Williams is loving this moment of just having Dominic with her and sharing this experience with someone from same national team.
Mhm.
Dominic seems happy to be here. You know, she's young, she has stamina, she has a lot to offer to the Storm and the league. Uh, and I know that Ray Burrell and Rakia Jackson, they have all asked Dominic not to dunk on her on them. So yeah, very excited for Dominic. She was with the team. She's in Seattle. I think they have a scrimmage against LA this weekend.
Yep.
And then the season starts. I am going to miss the Storm's first game because I have a bat mitzvah that's been scheduled for 1 year.
Well, let's hold on that. We
Yeah.
a lot, but like let's just pause at Dominique Malonga.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, she did dunk in her first practice, but she's getting acclimated. And I think it's a whirlwind, as you also mentioned in passing. She is someone. She's one of the players. There are a few on the Seattle Storm that is going to miss a little bit of time. I was on with Brian on Monday, and it's the same thing with the New York Liberty, and that's just the nature of the game. And it seems like teams are willing to navigate that a little bit, just because that's the nature of the beast. But I think
Mhm.
for Malunga, I saw that she did like a little live blog of like her first day and getting ready. And I love that she's already creating content. She was on CBS
Yeah.
Sports We Need to Talk Now, the podcast, talking about some of her favorite things. And she definitely knows about Starbucks. It was mentioned in the interview, but she, like myself, is a hot chocolate girly, which I loved. I
Okay.
absolutely loved that. I thought that was a
Mhm.
nice little nugget. But speaking of the New York Liberty, we have a New York Liberty podcast called Gotta Get Up. It's a podcast for New York Liberty fans. And I got to catch up with Marine Johannes. And towards the end of this interview, we will hear Marine talk about Dominique Malonga. So I'm going to skip ahead a little. Seattle. For people who might not be familiar with her game, what would you say people should be on the lookout for when she's joining that Storm team?
Well, she's a great person first. She's working really hard. Like she always wants to practice. She's always like asking questions. Um, sorry. She's always asking a good question. So yeah, I think like she's really like tall, versatile. So yeah, I think she's gonna like she's really exciting to be in this league, and I think we are all exciting for her.
So that was the magician. She was getting distracted from Tosh Cloud. That's sorry. But you heard what she had to say. She said, first and foremost, she's a great human. And I got to meet Dominique Malonga at the draft, interviewed her for CBS Sports, had a great conversation. And I think that she seems really excited. She seems really jovial and
Yeah.
personable, which I think is great. And of course, we know the skill. You mentioned that she already has dunked in practice. She's giving us the Brittany Griner treatment. And now it's just a matter of what will it look like when she gets her first reps. We won't get to see it on League Pass or anything because it's more of a scrimmage and not going to be televised or anything like that. But we've talked so much about her versatility. And as it's been mentioned in the chat, her um her versatility is in that 3 through 5 position range. So what does that open up? If I had to guess, I do think that means Gabby Williams is probably also playing a little bit of stretch. Um,
Mhm.
but maybe to the 2 or like a positionless 2. But I think it's going to be exciting to see them. Moni asking a question here. There's some confusion as far as prioritization if Gabby and Lee can leave mid-season since they've been in the league longer than 2 years. Is that at the discretion of each team or a hard no from the W? As I understand, the prioritization, Roberta, is really talking about arriving on time
Yeah.
to training camp. Now, it doesn't specify, and if it did, all of the Olympians, including those from the United States, would have been in a lot of trouble last year
Yeah.
because it was the Olympics. So my read is that it's not a matter of in season, although I'm sure if the WNBA could get away with that for international players, they probably would. That's another story for another day. But I think it would be hard in a league that has so many feeders to USA basketball. I don't think that they're touching that anytime soon. But that's my read, Hobart, though. Is there anything that maybe I missed or that you want to elaborate on?
No, I have the same read. Prioritization is about having players here at the start of the season. It seems like it was ages ago that we would have WNBA stars getting here for like 1 month into the season. It's crazy. Then now we have full teams. It's kind of amazing. And the prioritization is about prioritizing being here for training camp. Not prioritizing the team completely. I think this wouldn't even be allowed because when it comes to national team, that's a country thing, and I don't think a team they can refuse to release a player, but that would sound really bad.
It would be tough. Now we have seen national teams, France, do things like that. So, I haven't seen any of the other interpretations. So, like, I'd maybe have to see what other people are talking about. That being said, it seems like it's always a revolving door. And what I will say is teams like New York, Seattle, I mean, they cored Gabby, right? Seattle.
Yeah.
So I think there are teams that even outside of this season, if we look maybe in the last, let's say 5 years, have been willing to work with international players. And as Gabby Williams, she doesn't mince words when she is ready to talk, right? She's alluded to that I almost said federations because now I'm thinking national team. Other teams in the WNBA have not been accommodating and maybe have made roster decisions based on international play, which is definitely a choice because the WNBA is only getting more international, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that will get into the discriminate. I don't know. Just thinking, it's like you're making decision over someone's nationality, but I think that
let's remember who's in office at 1600. So, what is discrimination even these days?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough.
So
that's a whole other conversation. Yeah, so I think that it's definitely a challenge. I mean, if we're talking about international players, they are always going to be at a disadvantage against American players, just because you're born here, you have the privilege of being an American in an American league, so it is a privilege. And the thing is that I'm very curious as to what this new CBA will say. That's something that I'm very curious and I want to explore. I'm gonna wait for Gabby to be here like 2 or 3 months before asking again. And yeah.
whatever. Gabby's gonna, but there are other players that are on the
Yeah.
record talking about this, and not all of them are players that were born in
Yeah.
countries other than the United States. So I
Mhm.
definitely think it's worth talking about. And the great thing about Seattle is that
Yeah.
Madam President is there. So yeah.
Exactly.
So Manuel Hernandez, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And so we had this is directed at Moni, but I'm gonna have you up here as well. So Lee is playing Eurobasket. Is that
No, because Lee is
that's what I was,
Chinese.
yeah, I was like, yeah.
I don't know if there is an Asian the women's basketball tournament, but she would be somewhere else.
Yeah, like Han missed time.
Yeah.
But I don't. It might be national team commit. That's what I'm thinking. It might be national team commitments, but maybe not specifically explicitly Eurobasket, because I do know Han has been in and out with the Liberty before for national team. Like she like popped back for the Commissioner's Cup that they won and then bounced right before the playoffs, even though Lee, I think it was, actually stayed with her team because she was with, who was she with?
LA.
Oh, LA. Or wait, I'm thinking of someone else.
But before that, she was with another team.
Yeah, well, either way, the point is, anyway, if you want to know about my Hanju thoughts, definitely join.
Yeah, Chicago Sky. Like I did. Yeah, I don't know.
No. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But okay, so as we start to think about well, first let's stay here because there was a question with regard to if Seattle can pick up players. Now, this is where it gets interesting because there is something that is an emergency hardship contract. You also have 7-day contracts that you can do. However, if I understand correctly, emergency hardship is literally that. Like you have to be because you have injured players and you hold your roster low and you have to be, I think it's under 9, which is insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So again, that's one of those things that I think it's trash the way it's set up and should be. Is it when it's under 9 or 7? It's not under 7. 7 is what? It's definitely under 9. Like, yeah, exactly. Now they can be down to 7, but if you're under 9, I'm gonna have to. I still have her hoop stats open, and I'm gonna look this up real quick. But it's been a while since I've had to look into all of this because. It's definitely under 10, but I think it's like 9 and under is my understanding. And you can file for emergency hardship and get players there. I don't know though if you have players that are set to be away. I feel like they're gonna have to figure out if they want to do maybe 7 days instead of emergency hardship. I don't think, if my understanding is correct, I don't think they would qualify for emergency hardship. That being said, they might be able to do 7-day, but that's all predicated on how they balance their salaries and their salary cap, because they have to, finagle all of that. Cheryl Reeve a few years ago, she signed like a ridiculous amount of 7-day contracts.
Yeah.
Called it GM gymnastics. And I thought that was very apropos. There are a lot of GM gymnastics that are going to be happening. And it starts soon.
I do have the information here about the hardship and emergency hardship.
Yeah.
So the basic hardship exception is for teams with 2 players who are out because of injury, illness, or other conditions.
Well,
now when it comes to conditions, is it only physical conditions or also
That's my understanding. I don't think players that are away for
yeah.
national team duties or whatnot. I've always had the understanding that emergency hardship or any hardship contract, that doesn't apply.
Yeah, the emergency hardship is allowed at the discretion of the league when a team has fewer than 10 available players on their roster. This can be a result of injury or illness, like the regular hardship exception, but players who are away from the team for other reasons count as well. So I think that includes the,
Interesting.
yeah.
But I would like to emphasize league discretion.
Mhm. Oh man, those every time a contract has like at whoever's discretion, you're just like, oh
Yeah, and for a league that has a prioritization clause,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I honestly don't know what a disaster draft is. I don't even know what that is.
Disaster draft?
I've never heard of that. Explain, what does that mean? Because I cover the NHL. I don't know what a disaster draft is.
A disaster draft or contingency draft is a disaster recovery plan developed by professional sports leagues to rebuild a team's roster if many players are disabled or killed. I don't think we're going to have that.
Okay, so it's exactly like it sounds. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like
So,
I don't think that our conversation qualifies to that extreme. That's like,
no. Yeah, it talks a lot about, when a team gets involved in an
an
accident
accident, yeah.
and they lose many. So that's
Like, We
yeah.
Are Marshall. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I mean, I guess you gotta kind of think about those things. You gotta be-
Jesus, those rules.
yeah, that's
Like
wild.
the NBA like activates if 5 or more players on a team die or are dismembered. That's
Dismembered. Jeez.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
yeah. Yeah. I
Had never
I
heard
don't
of
know.
it.
I'd never heard of that. Yeah, anyway. So, okay. Given all of these things, Roberta, let's pull this salary tool back up because it also shows us the roster. So let's go through and think about who we think makes the final cut. I think we can all agree Gabby
Oh
Williams,
God.
Skylar Diggins-Smith, Nega Ogumike,
Yeah.
Ezzy McMagor, Alicia Clark, Lexi Brown. We already know about Katie Lou
Yes.
Samuelson, Dominique Malonga, Erica Wheeler, probably. I'm thinking yes.
I think she's gonna say.
Yeah. And so we already know that Hobbs and Connor have been released, or they were cut. So that leaves Sundell and Holmes, Fraser Cook, Lee Rue. So who do you think, let's put it this way, who do you think is probably not going to make the opening weekend roster if you had to say as of now?
I think Zia Cook.
Zaya, yeah.
Zaya Cook.
Mm.
I think Sundell.
Mm.
That makes me so sad for all of them.
Yeah.
Because that some of them have to go. And Fraser.
Yeah, I am kind of rooting for Sundell. I wasn't all that impressed with the very little bit that I saw from Cook in the preseason.
She scored like 8 points, but she did go 33% from the field. What I liked about Erica Wheeler is that she didn't take that many shots. She shot. She had 4 attempts, but she did contribute with rebounds, assists, and steals.
Yeah.
So I liked that. I saw some things from her that I think would be important, and I think that that's the kind of help that would be really important for Skylar Diggins. I think that, yeah, I think that this is something that is going to be a safety net for in the point guard. And
Mhm.
since they don't have a shooting guard, they need um
That's
like
true.
they need those like point guards who can find the players, because without the shooting guard, I mean, Gabby Williams can create shots for herself. Alicia Clark can do that, but in a team that's heavily that is very center focused, you
Yeah,
need those players who can find those people, and you
that's
see that the Chicago Sky is doing that. So the Storm needs that guard.
yeah, that's a good point. And Moni saying, I think the issue is that the Storm have no flexibility with Lexi's
Mm,
contract. Not thrilled that I mean, I feel like I've talked about it before, but we'll see. Donovan saying, feel like it's between and Erica for backup point guard, and then Fraser McKenzie for their backup. Wasn't impressed by Sundell, honestly. I'm the only one holding it down for Serena Sundell. I will say I was doing double duty, so it's there's a lot going on in hockey. It's hockey playoffs, so I was definitely double dipping. And also I didn't realize that I could actually watch the game without fear of my ears bleeding. But we talked about that
oh yeah.
in the Slack channel.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the Storm are gonna be they have choices to make,
Mhm.
and I just don't love the choices that they have
Same.
at
I
1
agree.
and 2, like, for versatility there,
I
and,
agree.
um, so that's what I think is a little bit of the holdup here for me,
Mhm.
is that I just really don't love any of these choices, um,
Yeah.
for what I think that the potential should be perhaps, or even
I
could,
agree.
and so
I
that's
agree 100%.
a little bit of, yeah. So Donovan saying, I think they have to go with who gives the most versatility because they only get 5 backups. And that's the thing. I think Zaya is a good choice because it's someone that, right, should be able to get downhill, penetrate, and as you said, find
Mhm.
players on the court. I think that's the same reason, on top of the fact that you bring a veteran player, that's why Erica Wheeler, right, is likely to make this team.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Front court is
I
low.
think, yeah,
So
I think it all comes down, I think that they really thought they were going to have Olivia Miles, and that was a big like uh, Dominic is an essential player to have. But when we're talking again, and we've been having this conversation since we got the news of Olivia Miles,
yeah.
uh, that they have that gap in the backcourt, and that is going to make a difference in the WNBA. It's going to be a compensating kind of thing. So they're going to have to shape that roster. Yeah.
I hear you, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I take Olivia Miles over Dominique Malonga. I
Hmm.
just don't. I know that that's what a lot of people were saying, and obviously, in theory, she can do some of that, but um, I don't know. I like Dominique Malunga, and I don't think that it's that
Hmm.
to me is more of like I think you future proof with Dominique Malunga. Um,
Okay.
that being
Okay.
said, I think you future proof with Dominique Malunga, and having her under the wing of Ezzy and NECA is huge. I don't know
Hmm.
that, like, who would Miles learn under? I mean, I guess you're saying Sky, but she would be playing out of position because if Miles was on this team, wouldn't she be playing the
I
two?
mean, who did Jewel Lloyd learn from? Sue Bird, when you think of that. Took her from. I think that it would make sense in terms of. I think that personally, for Dominic, that was the best case scenario for her. I think that that's the best thing that she could get for her future. Uh, I think that in terms of immediate, and I'm talking about championship, talk like championship. You have teams that are stacked all over, like the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx being the main examples. You need to be stacked all over. You need to have all of your bases covered. So I think that that's where my question is. It's not about how good Dominique Malonga is, but about the winning a championship roster. That's what I'm thinking.
And with that said, I still take Malonga over Miles. I don't think that Miles gives you what you need out the gate where Malonga can.
Okay.
And I think what you're saying is that Malonga plays the wrong position, but that's not a Malonga problem. That's a Storm
No.
problem. And we're seeing it play out because they have no Miles, they have no Katie Lou Samuelson. And even if they did, again, you have all of these players that maybe kind of sort of work if this, and this goes right. They didn't have an answer. And honestly, if Miles was their answer, that's a problem.
Yeah. I think that Miles' stock really dropped with the Notre Dame run towards their final, like,
I mean,
March
all of Notre
Madness.
Dame's stock dropped, and that's not even the
Everything.
point that I'm making. Again, you're saying, oh, who did Jewel Lloyd learn under Sue Bird? Well, Jewel Lloyd's not on the team anymore, and we saw what happened last year. And then the year where she did lead scoring, we also saw where the team was there. So I don't know if that's the best example, respectfully, Roberta.
No, I get it.
That didn't really work out. My point is that you have Skylar Diggins-Smith. You needed to get in. Then I mean, I'm not advocating to not have Alicia Clark on this team, but was there another player in the league already with experience that could have shored up the two a little bit more and you not bring in AC? Because to me, that now these are decisions that you're making. They decided to really load up on the front court, and I love that. And now there's a gaping hole at the two position in particular. On this team, if Olivia Miles hypothetically was coming to this team, she was playing the two, period.
Yeah.
Is that her position, though?
That's the same thing we're seeing with other guards coming from college. I honestly think that, and to be very honest, I have doubts in terms of, like, how are they going to introduce Malonga. Malonga is going to be amazing. That's, like, without a doubt. My concern is that there is a loaded front court and a back court that doesn't have, like we talked, a proven shooting guard. So that's where my concern is.
Yeah,
And like Moni said, I don't think anyone else was available at the two. And I think that the Storm I think they were relying on having Olivia Miles. That's
right.
Where
And
their head was at.
I understand all of that. I understand that. That's what it looked like. And that was flawed because Miles on this team doesn't fill your hole, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's no guarantee. That's my opinion. I don't think that, because then, who comes in for Miles and Diggins? I guess you go with Skylar, right? Erica Wheeler. But this is exactly it. They're going to go with a big lineup because that's where their skill set is. And that's fine because guess what? Their front court is their most versatile. And
Yeah.
so if you have someone with the skill set of Dominique Malonga at her size, excuse me, who's versatile, her versatility takes you, if I had to guess, I have to see her in action. She really takes you 4-5. That means that you have another versatile player in
Mhm.
Gabby Williams that you can bump to a maybe a 3-4-5. Maybe again in a positionless system, a 2-3-4-5. But you're playing big. That being said, Seattle's version of big is not the biggest in the league. When they
It's
play
not.
Vegas, when they play who's the center for Minnesota right now?
Oh, I have her name. The tip of my. I do
Like,
have
why am I
her name.
blanking completely?
Same. The first person that comes to my mind is Sylvia Falls.
I know. I was like, well, it's not the Wolfhouse. Wow, I'm just
Yeah.
completely blanking. Not like we didn't
Yeah,
play them
me
in
too.
a 5-game series. That's wild. Anyway, arguably Minnesota. I think I said the Aces. New York. Is it Alana Smith? Is there
Dorka you? No, it can't be Dorka you because she's a forward.
and also no. Alana is there 5? Really?
I think they don't have like a 5-5.
There you go.
They yeah, that's the
go.
thing.
I was
So
gonna say, that's why I was like, who is their true 5 when you play Atlanta now? Because that's where Brittany Griner and Bree Jones are. That's wild. I still don't know how the league let that happen. How do you have
I
Brittany
know.
Griner and Bree Jones on the same?
Yeah. And again, they are younger, but Camila and Andrew Reese, like
There
you
you
have teams that are starting to, I feel like there are centers, the center culture is coming back. And like what I was saying is that I think that the Storm is going, keeping Erica Wheeler would help the Storm with finding the bigs, putting the ball at the hands of the bigs. So that's why I think that they're going to keep Erica Wheeler instead of Sia Cook. And then I was trying to understand that the lineup too.
I mean, Wheeler doesn't start over Sky, so
No way at all. No.
Everything else though is plausible.
Yeah, and I think that Noel is going to carry over from last year the lineup versatility. It's going to be try and error, trying to figure out. I think that there are really good options. If you have 2 veteran guards who are used to playing with bigs, that can help them, and it can compensate the not having like a proven shooting guard.
Yeah. They're gonna have to go big.
Yeah.
That's where their versatility is. Again, I still don't think that Miles fixes everything. It's kind of like the same situation that the New York Liberty were in.
Yeah.
Like you had Sabrina having to learn the point guard position because they brought in Lasia Clarendon. That didn't work out. Then they brought in Courtney Vandersloot, and that worked until it didn't. But now they have Tosh Cloud, and now you have Sabrina who can play the 1. So somebody on this Storm team, in my estimation, Gabby Williams makes the most sense. AC to some extent makes the most sense, but again, AC is likely not going to start. So you have to have someone play that flex to cover. That's where Katie Lou Samuelson on this team is very intriguing. I think another intriguing thing that we don't have to worry about this year, but when Mule and Horston do come back, again, neither one of them, maybe you say Nika, but she's not a 2 guard.
No, she's
a
not.
point guard. So you
She's
still have a role, at that. So that's why they need AC to shoot. I'm hoping that they tell Gabby the same thing. She has to shoot. Gabby has to shoot the ball this year. She absolutely has to shoot the ball. And she can't.
I agree.
Everything.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't I see Moni's comment.
Which one?
Uh
This one?
yeah, I don't think Erica's going to start. I think
No,
Erica's going to be I don't think Erica can play the two. I think she's a true point guard.
I think she's a true
Um
point guard. I think
yeah.
I've been I mean on our last episode I said I could see Dom starting.
Yeah, you did. You did. I can see her starting in
I
like
think
two
Link
or in like 3 weeks, I would say. That's my prediction. That's my prediction. I think that they're going to use Lexi. That's what I'm thinking. That they're going to start
probably
Lexi.
Lexi. Yeah, it's probably Lexi, and they can get a really good two guard in free agency or in the draft in 2026. Yeah, but they gotta wait. They
Mm.
gotta weather the storm. And so yeah, Lexi, I I just be forgetting is not the right word, but I'll just put it this way. You can probably just tell that I don't see Lexi Brown as the answer for the long term in the CL. She doesn't make
No,
sense in this equation to me. I'm just going to be honest, and it's not anything against Lexi herself. We're hearing that she's feeling healthy, she's feeling great, she can be a dynamic player. I just don't see her fitting into what the Storm is trying to do, if I'm being honest. Like, so
I
sometimes
hear.
I
I yeah.
forget that she's even there.
I I hear what you're saying, and I think it makes sense because we're talking about when you look at the names Skylar, Gabby Williams, Azzy McBegor, Neko Gumake. I see the like, and then you have like Lexi Brown, and that's not to say anything about her. It's not to say anything about her how good she is. I think that, and I do think it has a lot to do with the trade. That's not something that they were expecting. They were not expecting to lose an all-star shooting guard, regardless of how bad Jewel Lloyd's shooting was last year. It's still Jewel Lloyd, and she's going to shoot. Shoot or shoot, and the ball may fall. So I think that that was something that they had to swing.
Yeah, I agree here. It's either AC or Dom. I know
Yeah.
you're saying 3 to 4 weeks. I say let the kid go.
Mm,
I think you have to give her a shot out the gate.
interesting.
I don't know that you have anything to lose here. AC could be a starter. I'm not bothered by that. I guess we'd have to talk to her because when was AC a starter last time she was in Seattle?
No, I
No,
think
she's
so. Uh, it was Sue Bird,
there you go.
Jewel Lloyd, Sue Bird, Jewel Lloyd, um, AC. I don't think Ezzy was a starter yet.
Definitely not.
Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard.
Yeah.
Uh, I think AC was a starter. I think so.
Super worried about spacing with that big lineup. Who needs space when you have vertical space?
I hear what, because like I also I think there's value in traditional position.
I do too,
Uh,
but we don't have that option with the Seattle Storm team.
yeah.
Let's keep it a buck. We do not have that. If the only way you have a traditional two is if you start Lexi. Now, here's the thing about starters, right? You have, in my opinion, other players that will give you more bang for your buck or can squeeze more out of the minutes that they get as a starter than Lexi Brown. I think it's just that simple. AC is definitely one of them, but if Dominique Malonga is as advertised, and again, she's your number 2 pick, why are you not starting the second overall pick? Why are you not starting the second overall pick?
Yeah.
Why are you not starting the second overall pick? Did Satu
I
Sabali come off the bench?
fair. That's fair. I think that I'm still stuck with the idea that, I'm thinking about the immediate needs. And for me, I I think I still need to see those lineups, because they're going to have lots of options, but what are they going to do with those options? So
Yep. NECA can shoot the three. Moni also saying about Dom, she'll be gone in June, so why not start her right away? Start her right away. I would do it. I would do it, because then AC's not going anywhere in June. You have AC there. AC comes and is pretty much one of your first players off of the bench. I mean, I think that's clear as day. I think you have to start Dominique Malonga. I think you have to.
I'm seeing here Alicia Clark was a starter in 2020. I was like, I knew it.
2020, that was the bubble year.
Yeah. She was a starter. I was
Moni's
almost sure.
Start Dom. Lineups will change in June anyway.
Start Dom.
Facts on facts on facts.
Yeah. Yeah, the Storm has some stuff to figure out, and but those are good problems to have. I think that those are really good problems to have, and I asked exactly that to Noelle Quinn. I asked her if she if she saw that as a good problem to have, and how she was thinking about solving this problem, as in just putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And she said that it's going to be, a flexible, a versatile lineup where they're going to try different things. And I think that,
yeah. And I mean, that could be interesting, because is this a season, or is this a team? We talked about this on Gotta Get Up as well, where we really buck the trend of really teams only going 7 deep with a possible 8. As I said on Gotta Get Up, using Spades Talk, got 7 books and a possible. I think that Noelle Quinn is likely going to need to rotate more than just 7 players. Some of that because players will be gone, but even when you have everyone back towards the back end of, once we're getting into the thick of the summer, coming up on All-Star break. And so again, you kind of talked about it last time we were on, in some ways, Noelle Quinn is the X factor for this team, because now she's got to figure out how to make this roster work.
Yeah.
Yep. Moni's saying, I think she uses the bench more this year. She's going to have to.
She is going to have to. The bench is going to have to play a really big role, and I think that's why I think that the choices that they are making really tell that story. I really think that
this will probably be one of the first teams where the scoring will be this shared. Are you talking about like Seattle Storm teams? Because like the New York Liberty still exists.
Of course.
I mean, the New York Liberty still
Las Vegas Aces.
I mean, not last year, but yes, the Aces in theory. But I'm like, no, you mean among Seattle Storm teams? Okay, I was like, okay,
fair enough.
Okay, yeah, definitely, maybe, yeah. I think it has potential to be. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And this is a breakout year for Noelle Quinn for sure.
I 100% agree.
Without question. Okay, one of the first teams where scoring will be this shared for a Seattle Storm team. Now that makes a lot of sense. And we're definitely going to have to keep eyes on it. But we are going to wrap today's episode. We will be back next week. It will really be the countdown to opening weekend, which is going to be super excited. I will be in New York for opening weekend because the New York Liberty are having their banner night. But the Seattle Storm, we won't see them, at least again on a broadcast for preseason. But the Seattle Storm will take on the Phoenix Mercury. So they're on the road Saturday, May 17th. So we'll talk right before that game. And I think it's going to be really interesting. They then take on the Dallas Wings as a part of their road. I'm
excited for that one.
Yeah, Paige Beckers, see what's going on there. And then they take on the Mercury again at home on May 23rd. So this is going to be a good one. I think later in the month, right, they take on Vegas twice. So we're definitely going to have those games circled. That's going to be
Yep.
interesting. I think they're hosting Vegas. Yeah, on
Yes, they are hosting Vegas. Yeah,
for the
Phoenix and
first.
Vegas.
Yep, exactly. So that's going to be a good one. I'm super excited. But Roberta, anything that you have in the works that you want to share before we hop off?
I will be at the Storm scrimmage on Saturday. It's the final 30 minutes are going to be open for media, so I am going to be there. They haven't released the in-person availability yet, but I am going to be there. So I'm very excited to see those final 30 minutes, see what the lineup has been, and what Noel Quinn has in the works. Um, Planning on doing some writing. Have a lot of work from my day job going on, but planning on doing some writing and perhaps even a power ranking. I've also been covering a lot of Chicago Sky because of Camila Cardozo. So if you're interested in Chicago Sky, Black Rosie Media is also really good at this one.
Let's go.
I was in Baton Rouge for the Brazil games. For the Brazil game, it was so cool, so fun. So yeah, just excited for the season. Lots of travel coming up, lots of plans for this year. Just a lot coming up.
I love it. I love it. And, check out Black Rosie Media. Tomorrow we have Brian Florentin is going to be at the announcement. Now, it's already been leaked what the USA basketball announcement is about. But Sue Bird, as I saw Sarah Spain say, has like 1 million jobs. Sarah Spain was like, leave some jobs for the rest of us. But it does look like Sue Bird will be taking on an executive role with USA basketball. Our very own Brian Florentin will be there. We'll have some reporting on Black Rosie Media website. And again, if you're in the Slack channel, that's a great way to get in on what we are getting in real time. So that'll be exciting. And then I have a super important meeting. This is not specific to WNBA, but Black Rosie Media continues to be credentialed or accredited is what they say for Olympics. And the Winter Olympics is the next Olympics coming up, but I have a really important meeting in the next few weeks, or several meetings in the next few weeks, to really get some foundational pieces down for Black Rosie Media, specifically thinking about the Olympics, but it will definitely have an impact and an effect. I believe a positive effect on what you see here. So I'm excited to continue growing, but more on that. And but Slack is the place to be if you want to know everything. Manuel, before we head out of here, I'll get to this last comment. We need to win championships before we get to 30 teams. Just saying. Liberty finally won the chip. Listen, I think Seattle's doing all right. They're one of very few teams, 3 ever in the history of the WNBA to have 4 titles. Of course, only one team did it consecutive, and that is the Houston Comets. But Minnesota and Seattle have 4, so that's awesome. All right, for Roberta Rodriguez, I'm Erica L. Ayala, and hey, happy birthday to all my Taurus, especially my May Taurus folks. Tomorrow is my birthday.
Yay!
So we're excited. I celebrate basically as long as I want. So anything that I buy or plan in my birth month, I consider a part of my birthday celebration. So as part of my
that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, right. So I do have a few plans during the day tomorrow. I have some plans later this month. I'm going to see Janet Jackson in Vegas. I'm super excited. I know. And then I'll catch a Vegas game as well. I get to see Kelsey Plum come back to Vegas.
Oh, you have some fun stuff coming up. And I mean, people need to join this Slack channel because you'll always update us.
I do let you know.
Things.
I will let y'all know. And then also for this month of May, I purchased tickets to see one of my favorite bands, Haim, in Seattle in September. So I'll be celebrating my birthday until September.
So Janelle Monáe is going to be here for my birthday, not August 30, August 31st. and Bob the drag queen is also going to be here.
Nice.
So and that's going to be for the Bumper Shoot, all on August 31st, which is my birthday's the 30th. The Chicago Sky is going to play here on the 30th, so Camila's going to be here for my birthday.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's
cannot
awesome.
wait.
That's super
Happy early birthday, Erica.
Thank
You're so amazing, and happy new cycle for you.
That's it. New cycle. The last one of my 30s, if you can even believe it. Look at this.
Ooh, I honestly cannot believe. I cannot believe. Like,
Yeah,
for you.
I'm telling you, 86. That's how the math works. That's what they tell me. I don't believe it personally, but I guess I got to go with the numbers.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man. Yeah, awesome. Well, all right, that'll do it for this episode of Tempetade Talk, but we will be back next week. Again, remember, we are on a cycle for every Wednesday. If we change that, we will let you know, but that would usually be a Sunday show if we have to change things.
Yeah.
And sometimes we might also have to just put out a bonus episode. So Wednesdays and maybe we'll sprinkle in some Sundays here. But for Roberta, Erica L, Ayala, on behalf of all of us at Black Rosie Media, thank you so much for tapping in, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.
Bye, everyone.